The first thing I'll say is that, well, in Arabic we have a word for this kind of practice. It's actually a very old word. We call it jahiliyyah. It means ignorance, but like a kind of like very, very deep ignorance. And it's a word we use to characterize times like in like the Middle Ages. And it's commonly assumed that, you know, as time has gone on, that jahiliyyah has sort of departed or like has been done away with. Like people are enlightened in a way. That's not to say like they're enlightened in a Western sense, because there's different kinds of enlightenment. But the concept of marrying at a very young age in itself is not really new. It's actually something that was practiced throughout Europe through the Middle Ages up until about early 19th century. But as far as like child abuse and spousal abuse, that's despicable to a person of any age, really. And I think I can side with most people on the internet and, you know, in actual life, in saying that this is something we're supposed to shun. You know, being a Muslim myself, I can attest to the fact that most of Yemen is a Muslim population, but some people, again, in maybe rural areas, they live in that kind of jahiliyyah. They have these sort of ignorant practices. But while I can't comment about the Yemeni culture, I certainly don't know the context of this girl's story. I'm inclined to believe her, but given that we don't know much about where she's from or her culture, I think it's wise to withhold any general comments about the Yemeni people or their way of life.
Okay.
But on that note, like I said, marriage at a young age was not very common, especially for people whose life expectancy is maybe 30 years of age in the 1800s. It's not uncommon to like marry when a third of your life is already gone. Mm-hmm. So 10 to 15 years old is not very uncommon, historically speaking. Yeah. But in today's age, probably not very accepted.
So you would agree that, you know, it's somewhat okay for that practice to still go on? I mean,
Sure, but like if we talk about like consummation of marriage, that's a different thing altogether. If, for example, let's say I lived in Yemen and it was 1800, okay, and I had a daughter and she was 9 years old, but my experience with the current life expectancy would incline me to look for a spouse for her, particularly because the life expectancy is just so short. Okay. Now it's understood and expected that marriage wouldn't actually be consummated until she was at least 15 or 20. It's more like a family ties kind of building element of the culture. Like, I'll give you my daughter and you'll raise her in your house, but you won't consummate the marriage until she's like actually of age. Okay. So it promotes like a kind of friendship between the families, whereas here in the West and in today's age, you have marriages that last for 1 year between consensual adults and they're not worth a damn. Yeah. So it's about perspectives and how the culture operates. All right. And Eastern cultures, especially Middle Eastern cultures, are inclined to hold on to their historic roots in that way, especially as relates to family ties. So I guess this is a remnant of that, but it's a remnant of that implemented without guidance and without foresight, in my mind.
Oh. Appreciate it, man. This has really been insightful. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Hey, if you liked the video, please subscribe. Also, don't forget to share your thoughts on the comments below. Thanks again, everyone.